right, yay. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, 6:30 p.m. This is the Rice Creek Watershed Board of Managers regular meeting with the Shoreview City Hall Council Chambers for the last time.
Of this year.
No, we're going to be in Mounds View next year.
Oh, are we?
So, let the record reflect that all managers are present, our consultants and lawyers are present, and we're ready to roll. Do you have any changes to the agenda?
Staff have no proposed changes.
I have a motion to set the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
There you go. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, of course not.
Mr. Chair, I think I'm up. I would love to make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 12, 2024 workshop and the November 13, 2024 regular meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, there you go.
We're moving right along.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 None opposed. Thank you. That takes us all the way up to Patrick. Consent agenda.
Yes, Manager Bradley, Board of Managers. Staff have 3 applications on the consent agenda tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have a question of Patrick? If not, can I have a motion?
Mr. President, I'll move the consent agenda. Permits applicants number 21-136, 24-063, and 24-071.
I will
Capra.
second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that takes us to open mic, I believe. And we have no one in the audience. Is there anyone on the phone other than our own employees? I saw Tom and Molly's names.
Tom Schmidt,
and-
Molly.
No,
I don't-
okay,
Oh,
so
yeah, we need to turn on
Nick,
here.
we're up to truth and taxation.
Yes, this is the first item requiring board action under the Truth in Taxation Law. The Board of Managers has to afford the opportunity for the public to comment now that they've seen their proposed tax amounts and for the budget and levy that you adopted in September.
Have we seen any comments since our last hearings on this?
Staff have received no comments.
All right, and obviously there's no one present. So I believe that takes us then up to the time to make a motion.
Yes, managers, you have 2 options, if there's changes or if you'd like to just reaffirm the past resolution that you had. The motion is on page 42, the one with the blank.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I would move to affirm Resolution 2024-06 to adopt the proposed 2025 budget and direct certification of the 2025 tax levy, having held an opportunity for public comments on the budget and levy after the tax notices have come out.
And I will second that. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, yes, first of all, Mr. President, I will vote for the motion tonight. But I want to comment first about recently we've received a lot of interest from the public about how we run our maintenance program at drainage. And I been looking over our budget, I noticed that we've got a pretty good sized chunk of money we're putting in there. But I'd like to see us to go back to the form that we had earlier and expand this form where we had assigned amounts of money every year for minor maintenance to a particular ditch. And I'm talking about GD2. And some years ago, before you were president, you remember this was removed when we had a new manager. And we didn't have designated amounts of money that were put towards minor maintenance on these particular ditches. And I think that the 5-year inspection period, which is used as a rule, is really far too short. And I think that's what we've experienced with the recent feedback we've had from the public on 10/22/32.
Far too long, do you mean?
Yes, I meant it's far too long.
Yeah.
It's, pardon me, it needs to be done annually or biannually and in not the 5 years. And I take 10/22 for 32 for an example because say it was cleaned in 13, we had And 5 years from that is 18, 5 years from that is 23. But in the inspection that I went with Manager Wagaman with, I would say that it needs a lot of intensive care. And that this is the trees on the sides of this, the mowing, the things that like this need to be done. And we need to be more conscious of this. So as we see the $200,000 that we have in the budget for studies on the drainage ditches should start to diminish fairly soon because we're just about done with all those repaired studies.
We're done with all of that, as a matter of fact.
Some of that money could start to go towards individual systems. As we have the systems listed in the budget here, for example, you can see that we have some with restricted funds still in it. Those are funds, I assume, that are left over unless I'm corrected here from tax collections that were made for those particular districts. And to start using these monies and adding to them so that we have a more attentive maintenance program, for example, for trees, for shrubs, for other trash that's in there, and to work at that. So that's with that comment.
I think that's something worthy of us looking at this coming year, the next budget.
I'm talking about the 26 budget, not this year. I'm not. There's no changes that I'm offering this evening.
It's a major undertaking that you and I have talked for years about the fact that we're gonna need to start focusing on maintenance. But we do still have, I think, 5 systems we haven't repaired yet.
I wasn't thinking it was that many.
I thought we were almost.
Yeah, I thought we were closer to 1 or 2.
Chris, how many systems have we not yet repaired?
Just off the top of my head, we still have Ramsey, Washington, JD1. We have Anoka County Ditch 5362, Branch 5 and 6. We have a JD3 main trunk downstream of the freeway, Anoka Ramsey JD1 main trunk. I think those are the 4 that we would have left that were be considered to be of a major repair status.
One of the considerations may be, you've got 2 choices. Either you increase the budget, or if those are not gonna be as expensive as the other ones, otherwise, we've got a kind of a push and shove we have to work out there.
And I realize it, but the items that the examples that the engineer has recited are partials. It's a partial on JD3, for example. We've done most of it. It's just a small part. Same thing with 5 and 6 on 5362. So they're not.
It's possible that there
So-
will be some earlier savings.
Right. So I just wanted, it sounds like it's a bigger amount of work than what is. It's more than consider, sir, but,
Like I say,
so.
it may require an increase in budget, though, to do that, so.
Well, we may be able to find budget savings in other areas, such as that $200,000 that's allotted to studies can be changed. But I think that's an important transition that has to be made in the 26 budget.
Nick, this is nothing to do tonight, nothing to do even tomorrow, but something to do in the coming 6 months from now.
Very good. Staff is on it. I would say, I think the starting point is defining the work. And it sounds like between what's in the watershed management plan and the policies that we have in regards to the inspection and the I'll say the desired outcome or the expectation of what the ditch looks like, we need to have the board to be unified on what that is. And from there, we can define the work, and the work will define the cost that we're likely to incur to get it in that condition. I know I'll stop there.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, I feel the conversation we're having now is kind of outside the scope of what the motion on the floor is. So, I mean, I don't want to call a
Yes, but
point
if
of
it's-
order.
If it gets me a positive vote, I'm happy for it.
Well, and I think he already affirmed that you would receive that. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
We can call the question.
there you go.
I have no
Call the
problem, but
question, yeah.
I agree with Mr. Waller.
Yes,
on
it was seconded. That's how we got to to dialogue.
Bradley seconded.
I second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, all in favor say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none,
Nay.
5-0. Thank you for that. It's important.
Did you vote no, Steve?
No, I
Oh.
voted.
Oh,
I
you,
voted
okay,
in favor.
okay.
It is,
No,
I think it is important that we uniformly support our budgets to the public.
But I did not get, in the conversation, could I please just say that
Certainly.
I agree with Manager Waller, and I think we need to look at these. When we went out and looked, it's obvious. I mean, we've got, that system is a disaster, the one we looked at, and it has to, we have to look at this and get a better system, because I think come spring, we're gonna have all kinds of problems on this system. And quite frankly, I don't know why we can't get it fixed this year yet, get it cleaned.
I would maybe just reiterate, and apologies for interrupting, this is not what's currently before the board, so I would save that
We've had this discussion.
dialogue
we had
for
this discussion.
the proper time.
I understand and we need to, I mean, I just don't want it to get dropped.
It isn't gonna get dropped.
Yep, that's all I care.
Okay, so,
Next item on the agenda,
yes,
if I could, on page 59 of your packets, this is a 2025 Water Quality Grant Program release. Molly spoke to you extensively about this at the workshop on Monday. At the bottom of 59, you'll see two proposed motions, one of which is to move the program forward with the rolled out changes. The final, and then the second motion is for each of the conservation district agreements for them to partner with us in completion of the technical work.
can I have a motion to approve the 2025 Water Quality Grant Program, please?
I'll move it, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
So,
In favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we have a motion to authorize increases to the three
Thank you.
ACD, SWCD, and WCDs.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the district administrator to sign the proposed 2025 technical assistant agreements with Anoka County Conservation District, Ramsey County Soil and Water Conservation District, and Washington County Conservation District in the amount not to exceed, respectively, $16,500, $27,500, and $16,500 to provide technical assistance for Rice Creek Watershed District's programs with any further non-material changes and on advice of council.
Well done. Second, please.
Second?
Any discussion?
Mr. President, I just note so that people are aware that we had, from Molly's report, a tremendous interest, and that's why there's such a rise in Ramsey counties. Over 80 different applications or such at the time compared to the other counties, which were in the 30s. And so I think that's important to realize that there's this interest. This is the program that we use for funding individual property owners.
Very good.
Thank you for noting that.
Did I do the motion? Did I do the-
You have a motion, you have a second?
We have a vote.
I'll call the question, Mr.
All in
President.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yay.
Mr. President?
Yes,
may I
sir.
just say, just for the rest of this, I forgot my glasses, so I can't read any of the motions, so I just want you to realize why
Steve, these will be really pretty on you.
they're not gonna work.
Okay. This takes us to the Blue Thumb trademark transfer. Nick?
Yes, Board of Managers, hoping to bring this saga to closure. As you may realize, the board created the Blue Thumb program back in 2015. And we've been working to assign it to Metro Blooms. And in fact, we did assign the trademark to Metro Blooms. However, the trademark registration lapsed prior to them claiming it, so the trademark didn't get transferred. Now there's a similar trademark out in the area of commerce, and to facilitate re-registering the trademark, we have an agreement with that firm that, fine, they're similar, but we're in different arenas. We think we can coexist. For the legal costs, et cetera, they're asking for $1,000. So with that, staff would recommend that the board authorize the board president to sign the agreement and that we would facilitate the $1,000 payment to that party.
I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Thank you, Nick. So now we're up to the Ramsey County SWCD agreement.
Yes. Patrick will cover that.
Okay.
Manager Bradley, Board of Managers. Yes, this item is the Ramsey County Soil and Water Conservation Division Agreement for Inspection Services. This is an agreement that's been in place since 2012. There've been a couple different iterations of the agreement since that time. The current agreement has been for a couple of years and is set to expire on December 31st of this year. So a great agreement, again, similar to the one we have with Washington County. A lot of benefit to the district in being able to inspect our permits and such. So we've worked with the county and are looking at a 2-year extension. So the amount of hours would stay the same, up to 800 hours for the calendar year for both 2025 and 2026. And I've attached the amendment itself in the packet here and the original agreement for your consideration. And there's a proposed motion on page 84.
So on page 59, we authorize increases.
This is a different program.
I was just, that's what I was trying to find out. Okay.
So, Mr.
So that
President,
was related strictly to the water quality.
so,
grants.
Mr. President, I'll make the motion here to start the discussion. I'll move that the administrator be authorized to amend the Ramsey County Parks and Recreation Soil and Water Conservation Division inspection agreement for the term and extension through December 31, 2026.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, I have some discussion. Just a minute here. So, first of all, I didn't notice a price tag per hour on this thing. Did I miss something?
Yes, the on page 85 in the amendment, there is an increase in the hourly rate that is consistent with Ramsey County in general's technical services amounts, regardless of our contract.
All right, and then I'm kind of curious because Ramsey County isn't building that many things. It's pretty well built out. How many, and this is like for 20-hour weeks of a year, and in a work year, it's only 52. So how many hours are we actually using? It says up to, so are we using less than that? And what's the average less than that been for the last 3 years?
Yes, Manager Waller, since the 2012, when the agreement started, we
Yeah.
have not exceeded 800 hours.
Yeah.
The average is closer to 500. 1 year we did get pretty close. I don't know if 2021 maybe. I think we were closer to the 800. This year we're tracking about average, maybe lower. So it does just depend on workload and the amount of permits that are out there. I've seen in the last couple of years there have been a lot more closures. So we're handling the permits that are out there within Ramsey County, cities of Arden Hills, Shoreview, Whitebird Township.
Sure. How many permits a year are we averaging in Ramsey County now? Now these are permits for building we're talking about, not for the individual rain gardens and water quality program.
Correct. I don't have an estimate, I guess. Yeah, tough to say.
We could provide that in a
Yeah,
future
I'm
time.
just surprised that there's so many there because most of our construction is in Anoka and Washington County. I mean, that's what massive construction
And
is.
we've had
But I see there's been some redoing in Ramsey,
yes, a couple of in recent years that come to my mind are larger road projects, which have a typical longer time frame for inspections, rather than I don't know, a couple lot subdivision or something like that.
All right. Thank you.
President Bradley,
Ready for a vote?
if I could just quickly, and we've known it before, when we transferred a large portion of RCD4 to the city of Roseville, you'll remember. They created that greenway. There was a lot of conversion of industrial and commercial to large residential apartment buildings and that sort of thing. So that's a lot of what we see as redevelopment to new uses that the city finds better suited for their citizens.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that takes us then to Redpath?
Audit time again.
Wow.
Yes, Board of Managers, on page 97, you'll see a short memo. It is audit time again. This is the engagement letter from your auditor, Redpath and Company. The letter defines the agreement, terms and objectives that they'll undertake. It's notable that while Redpath also handles our accounting, there's two different divisions. There is a firewall between the two. There is a proposed motion at the bottom of 97. The fee for services this year is at $31,250, not including any additional work, courier fees, et cetera.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept and authorize the board president and administrator to sign the Redpath and Company's 2024 audit engagement letter.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nick, 2025 board calendar.
Yes, Board of Managers, before you is the proposed calendar for 2025. Staff would make one request at this time, specifically to the January 8th regular board meeting. Could we move that to Thursday, the 9th? Otherwise, as it stands with all the known dates and such, we would be,
Is there any problem moving it to the 9th?
I doubt I have a problem.
No, just could we send out an updated just calendar notification? Just, I'll forget that we had this conversation and I'll show up on Wednesday and then I'll have to have breakfast with Niall Zickman because none of y'all will be there.
All right.
Did you say there's breakfast at this?
You'd have to add it to the budget, John.
Nothing we have to vote on it.
yes, you have to have an adopted calendar.
All right.
Oh,
Well, can I have a motion to adopt the amended calendar?
I move to approve the calendar as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? Favor say aye.
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 Opposed? With the check register?
Okay.
Well, this is the future meeting we won't have, so not the actual current check register.
Right. This is resolution 2024-16.
Yes, page 111 of the packet.
Do you want me to, I think I can read it if I can get my arms far enough away. Yeah, that's okay. Thanks, Mike. I move to approve resolution 2024-16, authorizing payment of December 24 check register with the following resolution. That the Board of Managers authorize the district treasurer to review and approve payment of the December 25th, 2024 check register in an amount not to exceed $400,000 for operating expenses and $150,000 surety returns.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Bradley, yes. Robertson.
Aye.
Wagelman.
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Wynick.
Yes.
That passes 5-0. Next one is the check register dated December 11th.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I, let's see, check register authorization. Oh. I move to approve the check register dated December 11th, 2024 in the amount of $171,849.13, prepared by Redpath and Company.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just point out that there are 5 surety payments in this one, so it appears like, you know, the permits are getting processed and moving right along. kudos to the staff on that one.
Super. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Staff reports. Anyone want to comment on the staff reports or have questions about the staff?
No questions.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would just say it was good to see so many staff at the Minnesota Watershed Conference. And from conversation with them, they were very pleased with the training that was provided. I did mention that I found myself in a number of very technical breakout sessions and kind of glazed over. They loved it. So we've got folks that actually understand all of that.
So the
which
right
is exact-
people,
The right people were in the right place.
Some of the
yes.
right people.
Some of the right people, yes, yes.
So, Mr. President, on the staff reports, I have a comment here. Patrick, I see that you attended the Browns Creek Watershed District Regulatory Program Partners Meeting. Well, I had a report about that, and you were well behaved, don't worry.
There was
But,
a portion where I sat next to Fran, yes.
And that's who I got the report from. As commissioners noticed that in the presentation that the Browns Creek had made on the second slide, they said they were in charge of the land planning, which the commissioner then talked to them afterwards about that, and they said they'd correct that. So I just wanted to bring that about, that oftentimes there's misinformation that's put out in these regulatory programs that the watershed districts are not the local unit of government for land planning. And so, but I'm glad you noted that since you sat next to the commissioner. I'm sure you saw his notepad when he wrote it down.
I'm glad
Thank you.
I'm glad we weren't confused about that issue.
No, we weren't.
Okay, district engineer, Chris, do you have anything you want to say?
Nothing really regarding my report or any of the projects. I can just give a real quick update on Drainage Work Group. They're going to be meeting tomorrow, and there are only two main items on the agenda. They're going to be considering two items to essentially decide whether to move forward with as a group recommendation with or not. One of those items is a recommendation to repeal it's statute 103E067, which is the ditch buffer reporting requirement. This is something that's been around for a long time. Really, at this point, there's not a lot of value provided by reporting the ditch buffers to the state because they are covered really under other programs, particularly after the institution of the state buffer law. So, I believe that's the recommendation from the Bowser staff that work on that to have it repealed. I believe that most drainage inspectors are in favor of it. But I'm not entirely sure that the entire drainage work group is going to be in support of it more than anything because of the potential that repealing that might somehow open up discussion that might lead to other legislation that gets connected to it.
Something goes out, something comes in,
Yeah, that's, I think the primary worry or concern there. And then the other thing that they're going to review is a framework that they've drafted for the purpose of updating the public drainage manual. This is something that a new statute from this year required Bowser to be the lead on development of the drainage work group, or I should say maintenance of it. And so it's something I don't think is likely going to be controversial. Just, again, a framework that identifies who should be providing input and how Bowser decides to make a modification of the manual, which the manual is not a binding document of any sort. It's just really supposed to be a guidance document for engineers, attorneys, drainage authorities, and the public. So.
Mr. President, can I ask one question on that?
Yeah.
I was up at the conference. I did go to that breakout that was on the drainage work group. And I was looking and they had a a slide showing all of the parties that are represented. And there was absolutely nobody representing private parties, taxpayers, or landowners, period. And I was just curious, how did they set up who's gonna be on that group, and why is the taxpayer not represented anywhere, or the landowner?
So it's really the parties that have expressed interest to be involved.
But I mean, where was it put out to get involved? That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I mean,
How would the average person know to get on there even?
it's something that I guess has never been advertised to the public and has, you know, there's never been essentially a notification to people that this is something that you might be interested in inviting people to participate. It's really been, you know, a matter of if you're aware of it and you're interested, you have the opportunity to be involved with it. I think really the intent from the get-go was parties that are engaged on drainage systems on a day-to-day basis. They wanted to get their heads together because there's a lot of friction, you know, back in the day. Of course, there still is, but it was set up because there was a lot of friction between drainage authorities, state regulators, environmental groups, and they wanted to get all those groups together in a room and say, okay, let's hammer out how we might be able to find consensus. That said, you bring up an interesting point. I did talk to one person that I'm aware of that is has been an attendee of that is no longer, they are a county commissioner. They're no longer going to be a county commissioner, but they're potentially going to be attending just as a citizen. So that might be the representation that you might be seeking there. So,
Yep. Thank you.
Mr. President. So just to comment about the fact that there's legislation, we also had at the workshop, you recall, the Red River Watershed Management Board and Minnesota Watersheds analysis of Wetland Conservation Act changes. And so these were recommendations that, you know, as to go in and make some changes. What it does is, I respectfully disagree with you, Mr. Engineer, about opening the door. Because if the door is open, yes, there can be changes that are against. People always are afraid that the environmentalists will get the upper hand, you know. But on the other hand, the landowners have an opportunity when the door is open. This is here. And so there's some things that here in our district that we've been interested in changing for quite a long time. And since I don't think that these boards will support our changes in the interest that particular niches that we're interested in, but it gives us an opportunity to go to our local representatives who will also be in these committees and have the opportunity to add or make amendments to or of different things, changes in the Wetland Conservation Act. So I think that we should be aware of that and that and try to take the advantage, since this is going to be a subject that the Watershed District executive organizations are going to bring to the legislature as an opportunity for us to also go to our local reps and have legislation to change things.
Jess, this is a good opportunity for you to report on your sleuthing behind who
Do
was.
you want me to do that in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
actual manager updates?
Well, you can do it then, or since we're talking about it right now.
Pocket here?
Yeah.
No, I'm happy to. I'll just have to pull up the email. Based on that same conversation that you're referring to with the watershed kind of, I don't want to say nitpicky, but objections to some of the new language in updated legislation, I did reach out to Senator Kroon and I just asked him, based on the information that Attorney Kolb had provided, if he could just do some due diligence as to, you know, what the genesis was, if it was prompted by an in particular agency. He basically sent an email. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll summarize just a couple of the highlights, stating that it was passed in March of 2024, and that when he went back to research the bill and how it came to the floor, he said there was no one present to testify either for or against the bill. No amendments were offered in committee hearing, that there were about a dozen amendments offered during floor debate, none of particular significance, that it didn't pass the House in 2023, but in 2024, the House passed it with additional amendments, and that he just didn't have an upfront recollection on, any controversial, things, but that if we had additional questions, to feel free to reach out to him. I don't know what that is. I don't speak for the watershed as a whole, but I did ask him because I know that came up in our workshop, like, why? And it seems like it was more administratively prompted than it was legislatively prompted, therefore worked into a little
I think
legislation on it.
you mentioned earlier on our first discussion, it was an agency bill, so only agency I can assume that would put out a bill would have been Bowser.
Let me,
Well, but at the discussion the other day, I thought Cobe said that, or maybe it was up at Nisswa, he said that the Bowser wasn't taking credit for this.
He said that.
And so it makes me think
Okay.
maybe the DNR might be, and
maybe,
and
he
the other,
did provide the information on who
Yeah.
authored the bill on the Senate and the House side, and they're both legislators from St. Paul who don't have any in particular, flavor for kind of some of the issues that were on there. So I can certainly ask and prompt additional
Sure.
questions, but
but I thank you for asking him, but we have Senator Housley and Representative
sure.
Anderson in our area here too to take a look at this. And I remember a few years ago, we were going to have a bill before the legislature. We worked on it, went down there, and then they said, no, you should wait. Wasn't that how that went? I think Manager Wagaman's got a better memory about it than I, but I know it didn't get done. And because it got, the whole idea was pulled at the time. So I'm just saying that since this is an issue and we see that these grand poobahs of the executive boards here are going to be involved in it, it's an opportunity for us to also tag in some of these things that we thought were locally important, like maybe getting rid of the 25-year rule, for example, or some of these other things that are significant hang-ups in our the permit issue, which I understand we have a very nice letter from the DNR saying that we can proceed.
We got the letter?
Yeah. Well, I imagine maybe I'm taking the administrative's updates thunder away from them. but,
Yeah, blew your whole thing. huh?
So I think the next thing is the calendar, but I'm with bated breath, I'm waiting to hear. So,
Administrator update?
no, the calendar for December, January, we'll note that we've already noticed that Wednesday, January 9th, not the 8th,
Thursday,
Thursday,
January 9th.
Thursday.
Yep,
Yep.
would be the adjustment to that.
Okay.
Please note, Mounds View City Chambers.
Yep. Does that bring us to the administrator update?
Do you
Sure.
even have one now, since
No,
John gave it?
We
away?
stole
Cat's out of the bag.
I'd like to hear it from the administrator.
Thank
He
you.
can probably read the letter to you.
No, I'll keep it short. My gift to you. The DNR responded to our inquiry to dredge the vegetation out of the public waters. And they're between Jordell and 137th and place the organic spoil on the existing spoil bank. No DNR public waters permit or letter of permission is required. So we'll,
Merry Christmas from the
Yeah.
DNR.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Oh, okay, good.
Come on, read the last letter, read the letter thing about what he said, the last sentence.
okay, cherry on top. I hope
Yes,
this is what you're asking about. No further coordination with our office is needed for this repair action.
Yay.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
So-
thought that was a kind of a nice cherry.
I think we can interpret that very broadly.
yeah. So,
But properly.
Tom and staff, moving forward, to have a contract and do the work in that area. So, as he had planned, so, good deal.
Fabulous, thank you.
No other updates.
No other updates. Anyone, John, you have an update besides what you've already given us?
Yes.
Okay.
So, first of all, I've been invited to the opening of the North Environmental Center ribbon cutting in Forest Lake. They built a new ribbon cutting here in the district. It's right east of the library area there, the stoplight on 61. So I'll attend that on the 16th. Last night I attended the Birchwood City Council meeting. Commissioner Karwoski was there. I didn't expect to see him, but he was handing out certificates of appreciation to the mayor and to the council person for their service. In Washington County, an individual commissioner can give a certificate to any citizen for their work and appreciation of it. So, but I was there to thank them because they wrote me a very nice letter for reappointment. And I also asked them how things were going since our meeting in April with them about Halls Marsh, and they have received the proposed agreement between the three cities, but there's an issue of how the water is puddling up in the pond and not flowing through directly. As you remember, they want it to go all the way from when it comes into the marsh out, and then they want vegetation, not a big puddle. So that's an issue that they'll have to clarify in the agreement. That's what they were saying to me. So, but other than that, that's the only thing they were talking about. And they did mention that they had a report that the outlet at the bottom on the road had some kind of obstructions there, rocks or dirt or something. They didn't feel it was getting full flow. So there's that. And let me see. That concludes anything I want to talk about today.
Okay, Marcy?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
That's exactly what I got. Happy holidays to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a Merry Christmas kind of gal, but
Yeah,
I'll throw in a
yeah,
Merry
Christmas
Christmas for you
Works for
too.
me too.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, so thank you all. We got this done in less than 45 minutes.
That was impressive.
That was a run, but there was no reason to not run. So thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for giving us a budget. Yeah. Hallelujah. I'm going to go home and have a drink.
Just
I
one
moved to second,
motion to adjourn?
yeah,
Or you're seconding my Merry Christmas?
Yeah, that's it.
that too, yes, of course.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. See you in January.